So Gail is WBCSD's Professor in Residence and has been for the last 12 years. And she is the Hoffman Impact Professor for Accelerating Action on Climate and Nature at Exeter University in the United Kingdom. Unlike somebody yesterday, she is not American, she's Canadian. So like me, when you say I'm English, I'm Irish. So Gail, delighted that you're back with us today and giving us the opportunity to practice that muscle that I know you can train. Remember, I don't go to the gym, but I know how to practice my courage muscle because Gail has actually taught me how to do that. So.
Woohoo! Hey, Rodney. Hey, everybody. I don't know if I can do as well as Rodney said, so let's lower the expectations a little bit, and then I think it's a little bit more fun for all of us. Can I have the lights a little bit down from where I am? I'd really like to see the audience a little bit better. Just slightly would be great. I can see, when people waving at me, I can see. Thank you. Okay, that's good. That's good. So, many of you saw me yesterday do my normal talk, the talk that I have some training in, which is to make sense of environmental risk and bring that into decisions in people's lives. Today, though, I'm going to talk about something that I have absolutely no expertise in. So, you're very lucky. But what I do have is the ability to create a space where we can co-create things. So, let's see if I can work this. Before I do that, let's go back. One, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about optimism and I want to talk about courage. And I want to talk about these things because they are things that I've had to try to relearn how to use. Maybe optimism I always had. I'm a bit of a glass half full kind of person. But courage I think is an interesting one. And I had thought a lot about courage because of the work that I do with executives on sustainability and trying to accelerate the climate and nature challenge that we're facing. And I could see that a lot of them knew the stuff, but the issue to me was like, do we have the courage to do what we know needs to be done? And then what does that actually mean? And how would we learn more of it? So I'm gonna try and hodgepodge this together. But before I start, I wanna ask if there's anybody here that is actually a Navy SEAL or has military training of some sort. Put your hands up. There is always a couple of people, okay, always. Thank you. Anybody here played professional sports? Oh, there's a whole bunch, not the same people. Semi-professional sports. Okay, we're getting a couple more. Anybody ever lived in a conflict zone? More. Anybody ever lived through a really extreme weather event? Okay, so now we have probably about 25 to 30% of the room. So feel free to sort of engage and co-create with me as we go along. Because for me, I really think it's about how do we find courage and optimism when we're faced with things. Now, certainly people that have been in the military, or I think in professional sports, and probably even semi-professional sports, you've had training, whether they called it courage, but you have had it, you know? And I saw that when my son was playing football, soccer at a fairly high level, but even as a small child, how they were doing the penalty shots every single practice from 4 years old onwards, which normally is a high stress situation. Whereas when you keep doing them over and over and over again, it becomes less stressful. It's not stressful, but it's less stressful. And you sort of start to use this muscle. What happens when you have stress and how do you have courage to face that fear? So I want to start with you, not with me, and how optimistic are you? So that's the mentee thing, and then we see that, but we see again, a strong majority, over 77 out of 10. Oh. Okay, well, we're almost at the same. We've got about 20 more people that still are coming in, but we can already see that we're moving strongly towards this side, sort of a under 6, but certainly there's a majority that's 5 and under. It's quite a different. We do have some that are still up here. I'm very happy for those that think we're going to get it. I fluctuate depending on which event I've been at most recently or who I've been talking to. But from a science side, I would also say, yeah, we're over here. This is very common. This is common when I'm talking to high school students. This is common when I'm talking to executives. What I do see is the disconnect that we feel we're optimistic about ourselves and our life We're optimistic about our careers. And then we're kind of really worried over here that we're not going to be able to tackle these things. I know that I said yesterday that we can't have our cake and eat it too, but it is human nature to believe we can have our cake and eat it too. That we can be worried over here, genuinely, as a society, as a group, but as a society, and still be under the assumption that actually for us, it's going to be pretty good. And that's normal. And that's because there's an optimism bias in us that it looks pretty good. It's a beautiful day out in Stockholm, right? It's a beautiful day. If I had asked you some of the first questions when you had just been through an extreme weather event or were in the middle of a conflict zone, you might have had quite a different side. But we are primed with what we are actually seeing right now. So that's how optimism works. Now, if we can go back in tech team to my slides, out of the Mentimeter, I promise we'll come back. That would be great. And we go to, now somehow that's, now somehow we're, here we go. So the question is though, how do we get some more, not about ourselves, we've got quite a lot, right? How do we get some more about the planet and society at large? And I think as people that are engaged in the world, there's a couple of the ways that we have to do this. And I think, the glass is half full, I am that temperament, but there are moments where that can be just blind optimism. It can just simply be, and we all meet those people. They're like, hey, it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out. It's hard to say that to your high school age children, or my children who are 20 and 22. It's hard for me to say that. So I kind of see that as blind. Now, Christiana Figueres, who was the executive secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and was one of the architects of the Paris Agreement, I know Christiana well, and she always talks about being a stubborn climate optimism, and I'm proud to have one of her t-shirts that she gave me because of the work we've done together. But stubbornness is not really enough. What we really need is to be informed. We need to be informed to know how big the challenge is, how small the window is, and how much the need for adaptation is growing despite what we do in order to continue with our optimism. So it doesn't mean stay at the doom and gloom place that I left you at yesterday and hopefully everybody else picked you back up again. But what it does mean is that reality check is necessary. Today, what I want to talk about is, well, how do we actually move just beyond being informed into being courageous and seeing what does that indeed mean. So we can reframe it, optimism, and I want to become a courageous optimist. The second thing though, and this is something I have again learned from my own journey in this place, is that you have to practice self-care and compassion. Now, I love saying that I do that. I don't know about you, but I do a lot of yoga. I'm a fanatic Peloton spinner. I like being in nature. I walk my dog. I do all kinds of, healthy living sides. But to be honest, I'm not really good at accepting my sustainability anxiety. I'm not really good at that. I don't always bring that out. Why? Because it's a bummer, right? And it makes me sometimes more anxious. I also don't always accept my fatigue in this space. How many people in this room would say they have been really fatigued over the last year? Put hands up. That's a lot. It's a lot of people. That's why the IDGs are actually bringing us together where we can talk about these things. When I was invited to Plum Village by Christiana Figueres again last year, it was the second time she had invited me, and it was a gathering of climate leaders. And I have loved Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, for many, many years, his teachings, and I had been gutted not to go there in France while he was still alive. But when I was first invited by Christiana and her team, I was too busy, and I was actually too busy to go. Right? Which they're like, yeah, really, Gail? Are you so busy to go? Yes, I'm too busy to go. When I got invited last year, I was so tired. I said, I'm so tired I don't have the energy to make up an excuse not to come. I'm coming. And I was not. Out of the 100 people, everybody was the same. Everybody the same. We were exhausted. We were just exhausted. We were fatigued. So the question I have to say about organizations or business, et cetera, modern societies, why are we so fatigued? Now sometimes we have to. When we're outrunning the hurricane, yeah, we're gonna be tired. I get that. But right now, we're optimistic about our life, and why are we so fatigued? Maybe some of it is the disconnect as well. and the fact that we're not giving enough time in our daily life about self-care, compassion for our anxiety. I also think we have to grieve if we need to. In Dubai last year, I was at the UN meetings and actually doing it this session for Rodney and team with the World Business Council with a bunch of senior leaders. And I wanted to encourage them to have more courage as they walked into these UN meetings. Or just to remind them that they did have courage as a person. And from my perspective, I was also simultaneously battling with what I saw was extensive air pollution in Dubai from a lot of the flaring of oil and gas that was happening as a petrochemical state was running the UN meetings on climate change. So I had a lot of disconnect, I had a lot of anxiety, and I had a physical response to this, including a lot of nosebleeds coming from that. And I realized I have to grieve. I don't know if we're gonna make it. I don't know if we're gonna make it. And that was a very shocking moment for me, because I usually don't actually give myself the space to admit that. Can't say that to my 20 and 22-year-old, we're not gonna make it. I spent a lot of time telling them, we are a lot of good people in this room are working on this. But sometimes I wonder, I don't stay there and drag myself out of it, and I'll get that at the end of how I did it. But I think it's okay to grieve. Not super good at it, but I think it's okay. And I think it's something that we should be able to say, and we should be able to just sort of support. And I think that again is something that the IDGs are really good at it. And how about just gathering energy from the crowd? How many of you have gathered energy by coming to this IDG summit over the last day and a half? That's a lot, right? And you were all tired, you said. So you need to have more of it, and you have to think about, for yourself, what parts of the summit gave you energy? What parts of it? Maybe two comments. What parts of the summit gave you energy? Someone tell me. Is it we with microphones? Handhelds, I'm going off piece here. People. What else gave you energy?
Dancing.
The dancing, okay. At a Trump rally, they dance too. Gives them energy. People need energy. Yes, over here. Being away from the screen. Yeah, I found that too. What else?
The exercise to be seen.
The wasn't that fantastic? That was so powerful. The exercise and not even just the exercise, the actual, being able to say what gave us joy or delight. How many people had a story that they could give joy or delight to? Yes. That's great. That was really good. What else? Listening to love. Yeah.
The inspiration of the guest speakers.
Inspiration of the guest speakers. Yes, absolutely.
Stillness between the filled spaces.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Singing together.
Singing together. Yeah. Did Rodney have you sing when he did his opening? Yeah. Well done, Rodney. Dialogues. Anything else? Yeah. Hope. Yeah.
Feeling like a tribe.
Feeling like
Tribe.
a tribe. Yeah. Belonging. Yeah, for sure. Even though many of us are from different places. Anybody else want to? Being part of the community. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing we're not alone. Yes. Dealing with that. Yeah, because sometimes it's super lonely. Yeah.
Sharing our vulnerability.
Sharing our vulnerability. Mm-hmm.
Sleeping with our kids inside.
Sleeping with our kids in the bed. Always good. Fair point. Fair point. Anything else? Laughter. How about that? Laughter. Yeah. Yes.
Different perspectives in one direction.
Different perspectives. Anything else want to say anything? How about the beautiful location of Circus? Gosh, I got confused today because I have a cold, so I actually walked back there. I thought we were back there. I just immediately see, oh my God, it's so beautiful. The old building, the walk, it was great. And then I had to take a green Uber here, which is also nice, but a little bit darker. But there was lots of things that were, I also felt that what really gave me energy was just the fact that I did see quite a lot of people emotional on a range of emotions. So the emotional display of people was, and myself, but especially people. I mean, I saw people crying. I mean, the Gaza-Israeli session for me was, I felt it in my heart so deeply. Really, I could cry now. And I found that really, and it's this beautiful space, and we're all in there. I thought that was really great. Now, as a speaker, we have a speaker's room in the back, but I didn't want to stay in the speaker's room because I actually wanted to be in the vibe of the community. That's way more interesting than being somehow somewhere else and watching on a screen. Who said that if being away from screens is important? Yeah, I wanted to actually be in this place, this auditorium, this place, and just experience with all of you something that was incredibly powerful, and it was, and that was great. So there was a ton of energy from the crowd. And I don't know the IDGs backwards and forwards. I deal in this area because this is stuff that I do. But I do think this idea of where do we get our energy from and where does it drain us is important. And I'm not sure it's completely captured by any of the IDGs. Certainly it is captured by things like Zen and mindfulness. But there is this idea of where do we get our energy and where does it drain us? And it doesn't mean that we can just get rid of the things that drain us. No, we do have to look after our kids. They are in our space. They do, my kids are phoning me, asking for money. There's all kinds of stuff I have to do, which I've forgotten to do, so I'm gonna be in trouble. I'll have to do that after this session. Thanks for reminding myself. But there is this idea, how do we practice self-care and compassion? And sometimes I even resist words like self-care, compassion for myself. It's so naff. I feel like I gotta be tough. I've gotta be out there, I've gotta be doing something, gotta be productive. And that might just be my very Anglo-Saxon background, but it's true, and maybe it's okay just to sit outside and look at those leaves. And when they did makeup yesterday, they haven't done it today, which is why I look so different, everybody. They had like a little dog. It was a little dog. They had like a little comfort dog. It was so cute. And that was really nice too. I like that, having the animals in the place. What do we have to do also? For me, when I was down in Dubai and felt like nothing I have done my entire career has made a difference, we're not going to make it, and the world is going to be hell for my kids who I love so deeply. What am I going to do? And I've got nosebleeds in Dubai, and the head of the conference is the Sultan, and he used to be the head of the CEO of an oil company. What are we doing? I thought I have to think about what I am grateful for. And what am I grateful for? And not in just some sort of thing like a fake way, but what am I grateful for? And I thought, well, maybe small things. I am really grateful. Lots of little small things. I am a person that walks past roses and I stop every single time. I'm busy, I have ADHD, but I always do that. Why? Because I like the way they smell, I like the way they look, and it's at least something I can do. And I celebrate that. I like seeing dandelions coming up through the asphalt. I like that. Why? Because it looks like this little plant says asphalt doesn't win, I'm going to keep growing, and disrupts a very larger system. I just like it. I like that side. So celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the fact that you had moments together, that whatever you saw, someone was kind to you today, or that you slept well through the night. Celebrate it. Really celebrate it. It's a small win. It's not going to change the planet on its own, but it is going to give us energy that maybe we can keep doing stuff individually and collectively. And I try to make it a daily practice. Now, I said I'm tired too, so I probably have to ramp it up by like 1,000 times what I'm doing. But it is important to do that, because the only way out of feeling hopeless is to actually see what we can have great gratitude for today, not tomorrow, today. And at the same time, do not be distracted by that. Do not be so self-congratulatory that the recycling you do so religiously is enough. It's not enough. I'm Canadian. Canadians recycle. Oh my God, do not get the recycling wrong when you visit your Canadian relatives. No way. I don't know if you do the same in Sweden, but do not get it wrong in Canada. And they recycle everything. But they also have oil and gas that they continue to pump. So do the recycling. That is a small win, it's a daily practice, it's a really good thing of getting energy. Don't get distracted that it's enough. We need to do more, and that's where the courage starts to come in. Now, hang on to all that glitters. All that glitters. And what do I mean by that? Well, glitter And James has made my slides so much nicer than how I originally had them, so thank you, James, I want to say that. A glimmer is a fleeting moment that prompts happiness, gratitude, calm, allows your body, my body, to rest, relax, and recover. So it's just that little sparkle. It's that little sparkle. We see it. It's just that little, and you see it in someone's eyes. We saw it when we had to say what gave us joy or delight. We saw it in the eyes of the people that spoke to us. You just saw it, and it was a glimmer in their eyes. And it was so beautiful for them to say, but actually it was even more beautiful for me to watch them say it to me. Because it was like, I could see the glimmer. So hang on to those. Embrace what I call micro moments. Just like really micro. Micro moments of beauty, kindness, warmth, intelligence. Professor, I can't say intelligence is not important. Innovation and love. They're not all the same thing. I don't know how you define love. Love can be many different things. But it does exist, we know it. We've all had it in some capacity. We've all lost it in some capacity. But on top of that, we do have micro moments. Beauty, kindness, warmth, intelligence, innovation, maybe add an excitement. We've got that. Hang on to that. Those are glimmers. Those are things to take out of the darkness and help us keep going. And share them. Share them. Share them with the group. I'm sharing them with you now. Again, I'm non-expert here, so you've seen me well walk away from my academic side. Now, courage. I did ask to begin with, who has had training in courage? I didn't ask that. I actually asked if you've been in the military or professional sports, etc., etc. I'm going to start this by saying, has anybody taken a course on courage before? Hands up. Okay, we've got one over here. 2. 3 at the back. That's why I want the lights down. 3. Okay, we've got 3 people. Oh, sorry, 4. That's right. Sorry, I can't see. Oh, sorry, yeah. It's the front row I really can't see. Sorry about that. So 4 people out of a room of about 136 have taken a course on courage. How many of you think courage is actually important? Okay, so were the rest of you just born with it? Yes, yeah, he says yes. Okay, you can stand up and you join. I give you the mic, okay? Perfect. Yeah, some people are. This gentleman is. It is something that we like, we think it's important, but we actually don't really create a lot of space for. Sometimes there are a few very visionary people that do that, and then there are people that are, for whatever their roles are doing, defense or sports or disaster response, have learned some of these things. Medical as well. Medical people, I think, would also have intrinsically learned a lot of this, especially in the emergency room. Now, how many of you would like to get more courage? Okay. Now, you already have enough, obviously, right? So you don't need any more. But most of us, it's always good to have more. So we think it's a good thing. We want to have more. We've had a little training on it. Okay, I'm not going to be able to give you enough training at all, but I'm going to start that conversation. So I think we have, do we get into, what does courage mean to you? Overcoming fear, feel the fear, to look inside, honesty, saying your truth, sharing, growth. So a day without the mobile, yes, that would be courageous. I did take Instagram off my phone. I thought that was pretty courageous last week. Those are wonderful things. They're all things that might give us a little bit more energy if we had more of it, right? Especially dealing with things like being authentic, love, vulnerability, bravery, daring, all these sorts of things. We know, regardless of our cultural background or socioeconomic background, we kind of know what courage means, and it means a lot of these things. We learn about courage where? Where do we learn about courage? Hands up, just shout it out.
Growing up.
Growing up, yeah, family, friends, school, where else?
Sports,
Role models?
movies.
Movies, yeah, absolutely. TV shows, yeah.
Saying yes.
Saying yes, out in nature. Mm-hmm.
Giving birth to children.
Giving birth to children. That's our only half the audience can have that option probably. But, oh yeah, that's a shocker. That's a shocker, yeah. There is that moment where you know death could be near. Yeah. How else do we learn about it? Yes? Ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, those micro moments, because there's micro moments of beauty, kindness, fear. beauty, kindness, etc. It's also all those micro moments of fear. How many people were afraid today? Oh, because he's so courageous, he has to face it every day. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, don't worry, the rest of you. The day is young. The day is young. Yeah. So, but if you ask your high school age children or a high school age person, how many are what percentage of them do you think have a moment of fear in their day? Probably all of them. Probably. High school is filled with a lot is going on. It's socially complicated, difficult, risky, dangerous, at times. Socially dangerous, anyway. A lot going on. And I was really thinking about this. The exercise we'll end with, but not for a little bit yet. Actually comes from when I was seeing how brave my kids were when I moved them from the Netherlands into England when they were 13 and 11. And they had to start going to school wearing suits and ties. They're 2 boys. And how they had to go in every day, and they still say it was the worst experience of their life. And it wasn't once, it was for days and months, where they had to rebuild their whole life. And a year later, they said things like, we didn't enjoy it, but change is good. But that doesn't mean they didn't see fear. And I saw how they was so courageous just to put on that suit every day and actually get to school. Yeah, every day. And it was tough. It was tough. So I realized that I don't do enough of it. And maybe that's why I think they're so courageous. There are techniques though. Again, this is some of the things that I see and some of the research shows. Now, first of all, many of us do this, right? Goal setting. Find an anchor. Okay, you're going to be the hero. You're going to project yourself into a better future. Has anybody ever moved countries? Was that scary? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe the first day, maybe not the first day, but there was unquestionably some moment where it was like terrifying. Have you done the right thing? What do I do? You don't know where you can get anything done. Yes, but you project yourself into a better future or you probably wouldn't have gone, regardless of what motivated you to go. We do that with our careers, we do that with our relationships, we do that certainly in sports, no question, right? Project yourself into the win. You know, Roger Federer absolutely was going to win. I've been lucky enough to see him play, see Serena. What makes them different than the rest is certainly skill, but the lock on the future. They're going to win this point, and if this one doesn't go, it's the next point. They just don't let go of it. Mental rehearsal. Visualize situations that bug you the most. Okay, that's the non-academic language. And try viewing it from multiple perspectives. Okay, and repeat it over and over again. This can work, but there's a danger here. That what we'll do is we will add in the third one, which is a negative self-talk. And what we do is we think about all the things that will go wrong. We do our mental rehearsal, like, oh, now it's going to go this, and now the AV doesn't work, or this is going to happen, and blah, 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 and my train is going to be late, and all these sorts of things. We can think through all the negative sides. This isn't going to be good. They're not going to like me, whatever it is. Mental rehearsal, no. Find yourself an anchor and mentally rehearse winning that point. It helps. You're going to get out of here alive. Keep it. Keep going with that. These things really work, actually. Now, they might just be a placebo effect, but it doesn't really matter. Right? It doesn't, actually. At least not to me. I'm not that kind of scientist. But with self-talk, you do have to differentiate between negative and positive thoughts. Again, none of this is new to you guys. It's not new to me. What is, though, new is that I don't always do it. And I don't always tell people I don't do it. So I sort of think about, why isn't it so easy? Why, when you look at these things, is it not easy to do? Those are questions for you to unpack for your own Zen riddle, because that's what I do for myself. Why are these things, the first three, not always that easy? The other thing is arousal control. Okay, there's a couple of, arousal means like how you physiologically react. Now, when you're afraid, how do you physiologically react? What happens when you're afraid? Body, how does your body react? Heartbeat, faster or slower? Faster. What else happens? Sorry? Contract. You get tight. What else happens? Shortness of breath. Yeah, shallow breathing. What else happens?
Sweating.
Sweating. Absolutely, sweating. Other things that happen? Sorry? Yeah, you're locked in. You're really focused and narrowed. Sometimes narrowed vision, right? Some people get hair on the back of the neck stands up. That's if you're really afraid, right? Other things might happen. You get cold, right? It's a form of constriction. We have a physiological side to that. Now, when you are super confident, like it's the biggest win in the world, celebrating, how do you feel? Open. Oh, like my body language changed, right? Can be relaxed. Now, is your heart rate high or low? Could still be high, right? It could still be high, right? So there are different reactions in our body, and people have different compositions of their body, I think. I'm not that kind of doctor. But try to think about for yourself, physiologically, how you feel different. Sometimes with fear, people get their stomach constraints, like, they feel nauseous even, right? You don't feel nauseous when you're celebrating, unless you've celebrated too much, and that's really okay? So it's very important, and those of you that do yoga or Madeline's in the performing arts, you know, there's probably some actual circus people here too. You know how to control the body and have it work for you. Has anybody done a TED Talk before? Okay, a TED Talk, right? So what they teach you with TED, right? Everybody comes in, you walk in. Breathe in, breathe out, right? Well, they don't just randomly do that. Like with TED, it is so curated in such a high level that it's, sorry, the lights are too bright for me, so I can't actually stand there too long. I'm on this one, which is darker. You walk in, you come in, you're, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, relax, and then control the room, so to speak. And it's hard to do with TED because you actually write a script which they help you rewrite, and then you memorize it word for word. Whereas I speak a lot and I can speak in very big audiences, but I don't always know exactly what I'm going to say, unfortunately, right? Unfortunately. So but when you have to do, you're like, oh my God, now I'm suddenly nervous because I don't know how to do that. Other people are good at acting, so they've got that memorized and it's easier for them. But the key thing is you walk over here, because you're nervous. Now I feel calmer. You're going to need to remember that for a little bit later on. Now, the other thing that research shows, though, is that your body can be tricked. So when you feel afraid versus when you feel excited, your heart rate goes fast on both of those. So literally, if you're afraid, you can say to yourself, I am so excited to do this. And that sounds really dumb. It really works. So they've done that with karaoke. Now, Rodney's a good singer, so he likes doing karaoke. I am a bad singer, and I do not like doing karaoke. So for me, if I had to come in and do karaoke, that would be a whole other shebang, right? And yet what they have done is they've shown in social psychology tests that says, I'm so excited. Independently, audience judges will actually think those people sing better. Now, whether they sing better, or it's because they're more confident, or they look like they're enjoying themselves, I don't know, does it matter? They get a higher score. They win more. They win more. So when you're afraid, remember, don't choke. I'm so excited. I hope I don't choke. Nope, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You need to hold on to that for a little bit later. Personal versus organizational culture. Those are different things. Now, I'm interested, of course, personal culture, who doesn't want that? But organizational culture, because if we're going to try to actually solve the world's problems, which I'm pretty interested in, we're going to have organizations that are more courageous than not. This is a business session, supposedly. So how many companies have courage as one of their values, their main 5 values? This lady does too. That's well done. Excellent. We got a couple here. Which companies? Just yell them out. Entrepreneurs. I can't quite hear you. Cosette? Fawcett, okay? Linden Group. This one over here. The Center for Conscious Leadership. Okay. So some, not a lot. It's not seen as something, although most organizations would be filled with people like us that think we should have more courage. We need to actually embed it somehow. Now, the key here is that, yeah, it's difficult, but if you are true to your vision, organizational vision and values, and at the same time you embrace the current reality of despair and fear, and move towards a better future, you can build organizational courage, is my belief. Thank you. Clapping, I like that. But facing a name and current reality is a bit of a buzzkill, right? Like, it's not really fun for organizations, it's not fun for any of us. And we all know that there are also institutionalized barriers that can take many forms. Has anybody ever worked with executives who only want to hear good news and are threatened by bad results? Hands up. Okay, a couple jumping up and down over here. I now understand why you've done the course on courage before. Anybody ever worked for an organization where the management reporting system reports on the wrong things? Oh, a lot, again. How many bureaucracies that distort and fragment information? Yep. A general intolerance or misuse of feedback. Ugly, but true. And procedures and processes that are just designed to channel information and omit that which doesn't fit from the agenda. Yeah. So even if organizations aren't meaning to say our value is no courage, they build structures that make it difficult. That make it really difficult, because as soon as you have to go up against an organization that doesn't want to hear what you have to say, or your stakeholders are saying, or the communities are saying, or the planet is saying, it's difficult. And there is a pushback, and there are real costs to that. Depending on the level of whistleblower, there's real costs. So if we're gonna actually try to deal with courage, we have to deal with failure. Failure. How many people have on their CV their list of failures? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Not you, but you're so brave. Next time. You do. Excellent. Anybody else? We've got 1, 2. Do you say their failures on your CV? Do you say their failures on your CV? Yep. Okay, that's brave. Yeah. Has anybody ever had a failure in the class? Those of you that don't put your hands up, we're going to bring you up here. So I would encourage you to think about that. So we're going to deal with failure. And I love Brené Brown, and I love this embrace the suck, because you cannot get to courage without rumbling with vulnerability. You just can't do it. And it sucks. It does. It really sucks. It sounds like, oh, self-care, I'm going to deal with this. I don't really want to air my dirty laundry any more than anybody else does, until I've really dealt with it. And it doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't seem so bad. But the stuff that's really painful, where does that sit? Yeah, it sits inside us still. We haven't let it go. We're just carrying it around on a daily basis. And that's really what we're going to try to do now. So I call this epic failures, right? I love the word epic. So many reasons why I love that word, but it's a great word, epic, North American here. Something that's epic. If I say epic failure, what does that mean to you? Crash and burn, something big. And what your big and my big could be different than that other person's big. So what I've found, and again, I am going to say, not an expert. I've done this many, many times at many, many, many different levels. Young people, really senior folks. Rodney talked about this earlier. I think the best way to deal with epic failures is to deal with it with the crowd, and we're going to reframe it. They sit inside us. Now, I bet all of you, if I say, think of an epic failure right now, think. Now, I've got so many that I have got like a whole bunch I could choose from. But everybody has at least one. And we're going to do at least 2 rounds of this, but I want 5 volunteers to come up. And you're going to come up, and you're going to stand sort of in this area here. And then one by one, you're going to walk forward. You're gonna do your TED walk. You're gonna breathe in. I hope we have handhelds for them. And then you're gonna tell the audience your epic failure. And then audience, what you're gonna do when they finish, and like we can't have like a 2-day discussion on your epic failure, but you're gonna just say your piece. And then the audience, you're gonna stand up and you're gonna give them a standing ovation. You're gonna clap it out and clap it out. And then the person is gonna go here and stand beside the other four, and then they're each gonna do it. And we're just gonna clear it. So we're gonna do 5. So can I have 5 people approach the stage? Hands up, you know your part. Okay, guys. Hey. Okay, this is the secret part. No one can hear me. They can, yeah, just so you know. All right, wow. Okay. Yeah, better be good, eh? Better be good. No, whatever you need to say is what you need to say. You know what you need to say, right? You know it. But remember what you have to do. Breathe in, breathe out. You can say your name. And it's Chatham House. No, it's actually totally confidential. We can't actually tell anybody. It's not even Chatham House. So this, I should have said that up front. We can't no social media. Oh my God, did you hear what they said? No, this is a confidence. Zone of comfort, zone of confidence. Are we live? Are we live streaming? Hashtag awkward.
That's good.
Okay, you can change your mind. Give us a name. All right, I should know the rules before I make the games. Right, so, okay, wow, yay, yeah, okay, live stream, so, yeah. So maybe that's illegal, but I don't know, your choice. And then you're, just stay beside your, like, so we'll have a, maybe we should bring them all up a little bit, yeah. And then, but you have to do the walk in the middle and do your breathing, and I'm just gonna, make sure. No, we have to give, we only count, we're starting again, sorry. Your IDG people are super enthusiastic. They have to have their walk of epic, and it's just silence. We clap after they've given their failure. No clapping pre-failure. After. It's post-failure, okay? Okay.
Hello. My name is Incognito Amsterdam, but in real life it's Vincent. I hate standing here. I felt like I could not stand here, so I'm here. And my epic failure was that I said yes to an assignment too big and too high up on the level that I was ready to carry and execute. And that was not the epic failure. The epic failure is that I did not connect with the people who could have helped me. And that was so, I could have done things, but I didn't do it. And that was, especially in my job, a big fuck up, epic.